Woo, woo, woo. Can I get a mic check? Because I'm going straight into the laptop. I just want to make sure. Anybody, can you let me know? Just let me know I'm good. Let me know my sound is good. Can you hear me? Just drop it in the chat for me. Because I absolutely need a great mic check before we get started. Oh, Miss Flo, what's up, Miss Flo? Thank you, I appreciate it. All right, so this is going to be really quick. Thank you for coming out, and for those who will catch it later in the archives of time, I greatly appreciate it. As you can see by today's title, this is strictly about me. I was at the bookstore yesterday, happened to go see the first Black bookstore I ever went into in my life. It was an art store and a bookstore, more of an art store though. And the guy that was in there who was filling in, he's like, man, you got, what you think about this? Check this out. Then I was like, okay, cool. So I opened it up, Dr. Claud Anderson's work, of course, a Black history reader. I open it up and I go to the table of contents. And in the table of contents, there was a chapter 4, well, part 4, called The Dark Side of the Constitution. And then point number 18 on page 59 said, why were Black slaves classified as 3/5 of a human? And when I hear that, it blows me. So I go and I look at the page and I'm like, wrong, right? And then so I have a great conversation with the bookstore owner. And then I'm going through other works, part of the book. And I said, you know what? I'm actually take this book mainly because I want to support the elder whose store it is. And I got to this store back in 1998. All right. So my oldest son, I think, is 24 now. So this is like 24, 25 years ago. And he's still there. And I just want to show some support. But nevertheless, too, I want to find some new facts, which I did, some things that, was highlighted that went over my head. Or I could be able to pull some nuggets out of here and, just superimpose this and just put these pieces of the puzzle together. So when it comes to Black history, as you would see on the screen, I believe there's two sides of the story. You have the one on the left side, which is my side, the side that, is rarely talked about. I call it the secret plan to end slavery, breaking the curse. History Black America and all Americans need to know. Filio unio simply means a love for the union. And then you have the side where, it's the KKK. And you see, you put the KKK right there with a noose coming out the Constitution. And so then you have that side where America has purposely stacked the chips against us. So the secret plan to end slavery, master plan, or the system was designed against us, and for whatever reason, some courageous reasons of certain people in history, maybe Abe Lincoln or something happened where there was a dramatic shift from slavery to freedom, right? And we need to point that out. And even if that is the case, we still need to point that out and stop telling the narrative from the side of, we being beat and it was a plan. So Dr. Claud Anderson, we know very well known, makes it to the Breakfast Club. And this is very interesting because when you have millions of views and listeners, I believe it becomes our responsibility that if we have any incorrect data, that we have to immediately make a correction in that data, since it's in the public domain and millions of people heard or may have read false information. If we can validate that it's false, then we have to make a correction. Okay. I think that's only befitting for the situation. All right. So let's look on this page here. So one of the pages in the book says the founding fathers rigged the race. They crafted a social construct that locked blacks into a constitutional underclass status in white society as a group, whose goal and say remains opposed to corrective redistribution of wealth, power, or resources to Black Americans. My point is, he's coming from a viewpoint that the founding fathers rigged the race and also crafted a social construct that will put Blacks into a low or underclass status. He goes on to further say, because he's going to come at my man Jefferson and James Madison. He's going to come at my man TJ. Okay? So hold on. This is what he said. And excuse my chicken scratch. But he says Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, the primary drafters of the U.S. Constitution and Bill of Rights, had no intentions of providing freedom and the blessings of liberty to Black people. That's what he says. The other highlight you see is he said they intentionally use broad and ambiguous terms to disguise and minimize debate about the caste system they were creating. Interesting, because the question I will pose to the latter part, if they're already in power, why do you have to disguise and not use or try to hide your fingerprints from the document? What you doing all this sneaking around for? If you're sneaking around, then who are you sneaking from? There must be some type of contention. So then who is the other party that's going to clap back if you come out and just flat out say what you want to say? See, I'm interested in understanding who that group of people is, because obviously that group of people is going to say, no, this is bullcrap. No, we're not going to do this. We object to this thing called slavery or something like that. Because as the timeline will unfold, and we'll get there through a progression, because I'm going to actually make this a series as I go through this book, we're going to see there was a group of people that was like, we ain't with it. Okay? So this is very interesting to me. But we flat out see, he says, Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, they didn't want to extend liberty, right? They had no intentions on providing the blessings of liberty to Black people. False. Where's the receipts at, Noble? Let's get into it. If we look up Thomas Jefferson, you're going to see that Thomas Jefferson in 1778 introduced a Virginia law prohibiting the importation of enslaved Africans. In 1784, he proposed a ban of slavery in the Northwest Territory. These were new lands ceded by the British in 1783. Now stop. We're going to deal with 1778. Okay? Because the United States at that time is in the middle of the American Revolutionary War. That starts March 1775. This is the Battle of Concord. This is the Battle of Lexington. Okay? So March 1775 is shoot 'em up, bang, bang time. The next year, we're still in war. They say, listen, we're going to declare our Declaration of Independence. While bullets are flying, we're going to make a document. The Declaration of Independence was written in wartime. America wins this war in 1783. This is known as the Treaty of Paris. If you lose the American Revolutionary War, you're not independent. So the war is from 1775 to 1783. It's not official that you'll be your own country until King George quits and said, go ahead, y'all won 1783. So I want to just put the context on this. So the Declaration of Independence, wartime. 2 years later, 1778, Thomas Jefferson, mind you, he drafts the Declaration of Independence, right? We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. All men are created equal. Very interesting, because if it's just a ruling white class that already rules everything, why do you feel the need to say all men? And why do you go on to say that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights? Why do you have to specify yourself if you are already in power and it's agreed upon? Very interesting. But anyway, so 2 years after the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson is a lawmaker inside of Virginia, and he's saying, hey, Virginia, I propose this, that it is illegal to import slaves into the Virginia colony. Virginia at that time said, what? Get out of here. Rejected. It's on the record that Thomas Jefferson said, hey, I don't want to deal with slavery. Virginia, we shouldn't have slaves. Okay? All right? Watch this. Watch this. It's about to get good. Let's go to the Constitution. And see, I'm not going to give you sources from what somebody else said, because Dr. Claud Anderson book has some errors in it, and I'm going to point one out, because he used the source who was in error versus going to the source, and the source is the dang on material. So as you see, this is from the constitution.congress.gov. This is directly from the United States Congress, not what no person said. Okay? And this is Article 1, Section 9, Chapter 1.1. Look at the very bottom. What is this title talking about? The restrictions on the slave trade. Let's read. The migration or importation of such persons, slaves, as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit, hold on, the importation of slaves as any of the states now existing, Virginia, Georgia, all of them, shall think proper to admit, shall not be prohibited by Congress before the year 1808. In other words, from the beginning of the Constitution, 1787, 88, 89 was ratified, we're going to let you rock out, and we're not going to put a prohibition against the importation of slavery until 1808. This is in the Constitution. So now here comes the question, ladies and gentlemen. Did the United States government stand on their word? Because that is a clear plan that you're about to start interfering with the institution of slavery. Okay? So let's see if they stood on their word. Woo woo. An act prohibiting the importation of slaves in 1807 was a federal law that went into effect when? January 1, 1808. Who signed it? President Thomas Jefferson. TJ signed it. Huh? Hold on. What the Macho Man used to do? I mean, Hulk Hogan? What? Huh? What? Man, stop playing, man. So TJ introduced a land ordinance, and we can talk about the next land ordinance that came up, which I'll get into a little later, but not in today's. But I'll get in. I'm telling you, we already know there's a land ordinance of 1787, and the last section, Section 6, says no slaves are allowed in this territory. So Thomas Jefferson wrote a land ordinance prior to that one that was outlawing slavery that didn't make it. He introduced to Virginia in 1778, Virginia, stop importing slaves. I think it's messed up. Okay? All right? And then he's the president that signs off on the law directly on the 20th year to the day. I mean, the first day of 1808, not the second day. They actually did it the year prior and said, hey, come this January, as soon as the clock hits midnight and it's 1808, importation of slavery done. Thomas Jefferson. So to say Thomas Jefferson didn't have the intentions to give liberty to black people is false. Okay. Now, he jumped on James Madison. Okay, let me point your attention to James Madison. And where does this source come from? The LOC. This is from the Library of Congress. Again, I am not telling you what nobody else said. I am showing you what's recorded. Okay? So it says selling life memberships, because this is about the American Colonization Society. Okay? It says selling life memberships was a standard fundraising practice of societies such as the American Colonization Society. The certificate, circa 1840, bears a facsimile signature of Henry Clay, founder of the ACS. Henry Clay is from Kentucky, big time abolitionist, and a strong advocate in Congress. Clay succeeded former President James Madison as the president of the society, serving from 1836 to 1849. Wait a minute. James Madison was the president, I think the third president of the American Colonization Society. Ladies and gentlemen, who is the American Colonization Society? Well, this was a group of people who said, listen, for the slaves who are free or get free, for those of you who want to go back to the motherland, we're going to go and create a city in the motherland where you can go back to Africa. And we'll finance this thing for you to get up out of here, because we don't know if your freedom is going to become a perpetual thing. And just in case it don't, or you don't even want to be here, we feel it's our moral obligation to be able to get you up out of this situation. So they created, you know what the American side did? They created Liberia. You know what the British abolitionists did? They created Sierra Leone. Yes, Sierra Leone was created by the British abolitionists, Freetown, and Liberia was created from the American abolitionists. And this is why, this is why Liberia's flag on the left is identical to the American flag on the right. So James Madison, who is what? The father of the United States Constitution. Well, if he's the father of the Constitution, then guess what? That means he's the father of the clause, Article 1, Section 9, that states that in 20 years, the importation bringing slaves into this new country of ours, done. So I'm just going to rest right there, Dr. Claud Anderson. I'm going to rest right there. Okay? I think I'm going to rest right there. All right? So, I ain't going. Because something's not adding up here. It's not adding up. It's not adding up. Again, I'm gonna come back later and piece it all together, because anything I talk about, I don't want to talk about it without showing. So I just wanted to come on real quickly and show these two different, like these are two totally different. Again, this is exactly why I say, was it a secret plan to end slavery? Because in our founding constitutional documents, they laid it out and said, hey, bro, in 20 years, it's going to be a wrap. Y'all going to cut that part out. Importation, y'all going to cut it out. And I throw one out here. Listen, George Washington signed into law, what, 1794, 95? Let me look it up real fast. George Washington, 1794. Let me see. 1794. I'm a screen share. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. I'm a screen share. So y'all got the real Y'all got the real masters messed up on what they was doing, man. Bam. The Slave Trade Act of 1794 was a law that prohibited American citizens from building or outfitting ships for international slave trade. The act was signed into law by who? George Washington. Stop playing with me. Don't do this. Stop playing with me. Okay? Okay? So now you starting to see, whoa, we attacking and making sure that no. You ain't gonna be able to export slaves up out of here. And we're gonna stop the importation. And then Lincoln is the one that killed the local aspect of it. It was a triangle offense that was ran. Slavery lost its thing in 3 devastating blows. We only know one, Lincoln, which is the final, the big one. That was the big gun. Okay? My man Jew say when they go get the big guns, right? No, the big boss. No, Lincoln was the big gun. Okay? So this stuff is about strategy and understanding where things fit at in its proper context. Okay? So I'm going to say that statement, where's that statement at? This statement right here, the founding fathers rigged the race. They crafted a social construct that locked blacks into constitutional underclass. Man, come on, man. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. 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 All right. All right, man. So any questions? Let me get off that right there. Any questions in the chat? Did we make that clear in the chat? Let me know. Did we make that clear? And if you have a question on the opposing side, I welcome it. I really welcome it on this because we got to get to an understanding. And see, here's the thing. As a man, I walked around for a little bit. It didn't take long because I don't do well with the idea of another man being superior over me. I don't do well with that concept. It's so, I'm from a certain era, so this is not talking about a group of people, but it was just so what we would consider homo. And when we say it in that term, meaning that it was just so like, I mean, you're just allowing another man to do what he wants to you. Like I don't get it. I don't sit well with that concept, right? And so it makes you not want to produce. It makes you a simp. It makes you a wimp to sit up here and believe that, the game is rigged against you. The game not rigged against you because as I progress, listen, Dr. Claud Anderson is successful. Okay? He's very successful. Okay? And a simple search can show you how successful he is. Okay? Simple Google can show you how successful he is. The legend is he has the most successful fishery in the state of Maryland. I'm in the real estate. So when I start looking at real estate that you own, and we start seeing, $1.6 million in value here, come on, man. That means your powernomics outsmarted, and I'm going to get into this later. It means your powernomics outsmarted white supremacy. And if that's the case, then we need to be understanding that and how you became successful. Not telling people that they've been duped when you done made it to the upper echelon of life, success-wise, right? And that's where you're supposed to be. That's where we're supposed to be. But when we interpret false information that comes from a place of superiority and, that kills the spirit in the man. And we got to stop killing the spirit inside of men. That's the problem. Okay. So any questions in the chat before we break out? I know it's a little lag, a little difference. I think I'm going to come on Saturdays. Quick little Saturday breakdown of this book real fast and get into it. Boy, I got a good one. Ooh, I'm gonna get you next week on this one. Boy, oh boy. I'm gonna wait. All right. It seems that we needed psychological help once we were freed from slavery. Why would a freed people insist on believing they are not free from slavery? I gotta make sure I understand that. Why would a freed people insist on believing they are not free? Oh my God. Man, that's deep. Imagine that. You free. No, I'm not. I ain't free. Those are mental chains. This is exactly why my cover says breaking the curse. Like seriously, breaking the curse. That's a curse because you sitting up here free, right? But you insist on that we ain't free. Hey, nah. Uh-uh. 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 That's scary to me. That's scary to me. So that comes to what I would clearly call mental slavery at that point, you know. It's sort of like when you get that electric fence, the invisible barrier thing, and the animals won't cross it because they, something happens when they do, but you can't see it. You don't know why you know what I mean? So for them, they think that barrier is there. You know, it's just a curse, man. It's a curse. The flag that should have been here should have been a Confederate flag, not the United States flag. There lies the problem. And when you see the Ku Klux Klan do something when they march with the Confederate flag and the American flag, they retarded. The American flag beat the Confederate flag in the Civil War. So why are you representing the American flag? But since they associated with it, and then black folks got the association of slavery under the United States of America, we put the United States of America on the Confederate Klan side, and that's the error. That's the error right there. Okay? That's the gross error. See, at some point in time, this is why I tell people all the time, if you care about this black racism problem, you're going to 100% have to examine the Civil War. And then before that, I remember Jew telling me, he was like, man, stay on the Civil War, man, because it'd be a little harder for you to go prior to that. And it's actually the opposite. There are more Jews inside of the colonial times than there is. The Civil War is just one big conflict of war. But there's some Jews that's dropped. There was some instrumental people that was laying it down that I'm going to get into that precedes the Civil War, and that's at the founding of the nation. Okay? So the juice is over here. All right? So we good? We good? All right, and so I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna get out of here. I just want to keep this simple. And this ain't no this is. I would love and going to try my best to reach out to Dr. Claud Anderson because, this, and I'm gonna point it out. And I'm gonna show it next. I'm gonna show it next week. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna read it, but I promise you, I absolutely promise. When they asked him about they asked him about certain things when he's talking about why did the founding fathers use ambiguous terms to refer to blacks in the U.S. Constitution? He started quoting the book by Kenneth Davis, and it says, I wonder if y'all can see this. Ooh, yes, you can. Don't know much about history. He's quoting a book from a title called Don't Know Much About History. Look how like that. You see the irony of that? I just sit up here and showed you the facts inside the Constitution, what James Madison was about, right? Helping black folks get to Africa, right? And he set up here and is quoting things from a book called Don't Know Much About History. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. All right. And I'm out of here, man. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week. All right, peace.